Hello and welcome to Big Picture. I am Vishal Dahiya and today we will talk about child sex abuse. The central government and the Supreme Court both have taken firm steps to tackle the rising number of sexual offences against children. Earlier this week, Union Cabinet approved amendments to strengthen the POCSO Act by including death penalty for aggravated sexual assault on children. Section 14 and 15 of the POCSO Act 2012 will also be amended to address the menace of child pornography. Government has also informed the Parliament recently that 1,023 fast-track courts will be set up in the country for speedy trial of cases of sexual assault on women and children. Supreme Court has also registered a PIL suo moto to shape a concrete and concerted as well as clear national response displaying zero tolerance towards sexual assault of children. As per the data collected through all high courts, 24,212 FIRs have been registered from 1st of January to 30th of June this year across the country on incidents of child rape. Trial has commenced in only 6,449 cases, out of which only 4% have been decided by the trial courts. For more on these legal and judicial reforms aimed at tackling the menace of child sex abuse, we have with us a distinguished panel of guests today. Let me start by introducing them to you, beginning with Aditi Tandon, our special correspondent of the Tribune, somebody who keeps a tab on the developments as far as the Women and Child Development Ministry is concerned. We also have with us Ms. Reva Nair, former Secretary of Ministry of Women and Child, and Rekha Agarwal, advocate of the Supreme Court. So let me begin with you, Aditi. And to give our viewers a sense of the holistic sense of the picture here, this is one aspect which has been talked about a lot in the last 5 to 10 years. There was a bill which came in 2012. Then it was, introduced in the previous Lok Sabha as well. But since the Lok Sabha has lapsed, the bill is now being amended and the government wants to reintroduce it. What are the salient aspects if we are looking at the government's efforts to tackle this?
So you see, Vikas, the bill was introduced in the Lok Sabha in January of the last Lok Sabha, 16th Lok Sabha. Now because the Lok Sabha has lapsed, it has to be reintroduced and the ground has been cleared for reintroduction of the POCSO amendment bill because the Union Cabinet about 3 days ago cleared the amended version again, which is of course a formality. You asked about the salient features of this law. This law is extremely important in the sense that it is for the first time in the history of anti-sexual crimes against children law that death penalty has been introduced.
Okay.
So what this law essentially says is that in cases of aggravated sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault has been defined as sexual crimes by people who are in positions of trust and authority. It could be the manager of a child shelter home, it could be a school principal, it could be a doctor, a hospital staff, anybody who's in a position of authority and trust for the child. Could also be the family member. So that is defined as aggravated sexual assault. And for this category of assault, the bill has clearly said not less than 20 years of rigorous imprisonment, extending up to the rest of the natural life of the convict or death plus fine. What did the original version of POCSO Act said? The original version of POCSO Act only made this category of crime liable with not less than 10 years of rigorous imprisonment. So it's a huge quantum leap. Not only are you increasing the minimum sentence in such cases to 20 years rigorous imprisonment, you are introducing the clause of death penalty as a deterrent. The second most important feature of the new bill is the section that deals with penetrative sexual assault on children, which, you know, as you mentioned, is increasing. Now, this particular clause in the new bill says that if there has been a penetrative sexual assault with any child less than 16 years of age, that will be punishable with not less than 20 years of rigorous imprisonment plus the remainder of natural life. So these are the two significant changes from the original Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act of 2012.
Okay.
And the third change is introduction of the definition of child pornography. For the first time, we are clearly defining what child pornography is because CBI is dealing with cases where the perpetrators are using loopholes in the IT Act loopholes in the criminal law amendment bills to get away, because IT Act does not cover photographs. Sexually explicit photographs of children are not covered under IT Act, only covers the digital content. But there's a range of clauses that have been defined under child pornography.
Okay, the section 14 and 15 of the POCSO Act, which you're talking about. Ms. Nair, the changes clearly suggest that the law and the legal remedies are also trying to catch up with the changing technology, as well as Aditi pointed out how the loopholes were exploited. But if you look at the way this law has traveled and this menace of child sexual abuse, as well as which includes child pornography as well, if you look at the timeline, is that what we have done is enough, or something more needs to be done here?
As a matter of fact, it's shocking. With the advancement in law, with the severity of the law increasing, it appears that it has had no impact. No impact, because the number of cases that are multiplying are so humongous that it is frightening to see a society which is now getting more and more literate and educated, not aware of how severe the law is becoming and has become. You remember some years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there was this huge case of Nethari, where I think up to 40 or 50 kids just disappeared from the face of that area, Nethari village. And very little comment was seen till eventually, after long investigation, the couple, the two people, Panther and the other person, they were caught. And even now, all the cases have not been dealt with. Even in that case, there has been imprisonment. But look, two people having done away with 40 kids years ago. So now, with all the publicity in the newspapers, with all the conversations, I think in every social media and everywhere the conversations are there, in schools there's awareness, teachers, principals, everybody is aware. Still, you open a newspaper and you see what you see. Every page there are 15 or 16 episodes. Every day in the evening on TV there's something or the other that is coming out. That means there's lack of awareness. It's not that we don't have laws. POSCO itself was good enough to have put away people for 10 years.
And it has become more severe.
It has become 20 years with the possibility of a death sentence. But until it impacts the minds and the psyche of the people, the criminal bunch that are not aware or just do not care. You saw what happened in the case with this girl was, kaun sa case tha ye jo bus mein, the girl was assaulted in the bus with these 6 people.
The Nirbhaya case.
Nirbhaya case, with the Nirbhaya case. There was shock and consternation in the beginning, and there was vigil, candlelight vigil. Then what happened? They're still languishing, aren't they? Immediately, you do not see any resolution to the crime. You do not see quick punishment. Setting up of the fast track courts will help a lot.
Okay.
If these 1,000 courts come up, it will be wonderful, because the registration will take place. They'll go to the fast court, man will be punished, sent to death sentence.
Okay.
I don't think the fear of death sentence is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. But a person who has done one, he will do 2, 3, 4, 5 rapes and murders, and then he'll get only that one death sentence at the end of it. So that is why people are against the death sentence. They say, if you're doing one, then you say you might as well do 10. Agar maine marna hi hai, to main 10 karke maru. That is the kind of lack of logic on the other side.
Okay.
I'm being the devil's advocate.
But
I think for most average people, normal people, the death sentence is frightening.
Okay, what you're saying is that the law is severe enough, but
Very severe
social
enough.
awareness is something which has to be brought in. We'll come to the social awareness part as well, but let me bring in Ms. Agarwal here on the legal aspect specifically. In fact, even the Supreme Court, not only the central government, the Supreme Court has taken note of it, and has taken a suo moto PIL, asked its registry to go ahead and compile cases, and the data itself shows how severe is the situation.
You're absolutely right, and as Ms. Nair also pointed out, that there are humongous number of cases which are there every day. In fact, every morning when you pick up your daily newspaper, on the front page itself, there will be some news or the other on the front page or on page number 3 that, in such and such colony, even in metro cities, forget about B-class towns or in villages, what is happening. Yes, we have a very severe law, very stringent law, and POCSO itself up till now was good enough to take care of such crimes. But unfortunately, it's a glaring example of the fact that people are just not scared. Number one, that they're not just scared of the law, and number two, I think that the biggest factor is the ignorance. People, in fact, if I may say so, I've been conducting a number of workshops in the last few years about about the POCSO Act and about also the sexual harassment at the workplace. As a women rights activist also, I do these workshops, and you'll be amazed that even in very, very literate gatherings where I've gone and conducted these workshops, if there's a gathering of about 50 persons, 50 matured grown-up persons in metro cities, nobody has even heard of the POCSO. And when I tell them literally like a school teacher, please raise up your hands, how many of you have you even heard of the POCSO? And feebly about 2 or 3% raise their hand and say, yes ma'am, we heard of the name POCSO. So when we're talking about people in metro cities not being aware of the law, that is there, and that is there since the year 2013. Now we're in 2019. So I think that it is, we have come a long way, but we still have to do a lot of hard work. We have to make people aware of the fact that this is a law which is so severe that whereas it is a fundamental right of every Indian citizen that he is innocent until proved guilty, it works the other way around in POCSO cases. You're guilty until proved innocent. Not many criminals are aware of this hard fact that you're already done. If you have a POCSO case against you, if there's an FIR against you, you are done forever. You're finished forever. But the number of cases just 3 days ago or 4 days ago, it happened in Dwarka, in sector 23 Dwarka, and there is the criminal was caught taking a little girl away. He's holding her finger and taking her away, and the entire crime has been caught on CCTV. And not only does he rape her brutally, he also murders her, and her body is found in the bushes after 2-3 days, brutally mangled and beaten and eaten up by wild dogs and animals. So if this is happening in a city like Delhi, sector 23, Dwarka is happening, so we need to really pull up our socks. We need to make people aware of how severe the law is. What is, I mean the gravity of the punishment that you're going to face. It's right that today, if the amendment is being passed and there is going to be the death sentence, but is death sentence enough? Is that a deterrent enough? Okay. Because not every case will be of aggravated sexual assault. Not every case will be of penetrative sexual assault. Not every case will be about child pornography. Okay. But the damage that is done to a child's psychology by a person of trust, maybe, as Ms. Ansa also said, that it could be your own relative, it could be your own father, it could be your own mother. So are people even aware of the fact that this is a gender neutral law? No, not people. People so always talk about sexual crimes. People think that this law is only there to protect little girls. No, this law is also there to protect little boys. What about boys who are sodomized? Nobody even talks about them. So we need a lot of awareness. We need workshops, we need nukkad nataks. People should be aware that this law exists, that a child's dignity is to be maintained, which is provided under the Constitution. It is a fundamental right of a child to be protected. His dignity has to be protected. So we do need to come a long way and make people aware about this.
Okay, that's quite an apt sum up, and clearly explains the situation. Aditi, on this aspect, everything veers around to the fact that the people need to be made aware not only about the severity of the law, but also about the gravity of the situation.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with both the panelists, and the problem is not having a strong or a deterring law. The problem lies with its implementation. I'll just take you back, not too far back. We just had the special court judgment in the Kathua case. Yes. It was the most publicized case on the face of this earth. In India, we've never had such media glare. Of course, on Nirbhaya, we had a huge media glare, and ma'am has pointed out how the convicts have still not been given death penalty. Okay. Now, Kathua rape case, as you know, Vikas, has taken 16 long months to reach trial and for the main accused to be convicted. What does the POCSO Act say? POCSO Act clearly mentions that the entire trial conviction period has to be done in 1 year. Not just that, the POCSO case also gives the judges in the designated POCSO courts a lot of power to announce interim medical compensations for relief to victims. I write on this sector. I can tell you, it is heartbreaking to see how the judiciary needs to be totally, has to empathize with the fact that a little child has gone through so much of trauma. The judges are not in many cases exercising their discretion even to give this medical compensation, Vikas. What are we talking about? The law will empower. The implementation part is with the courts, right? I know of a case here in West Delhi. A girl was raped by a tantric. The medical compensation that was announced for the girl reached the girl after she died on her hospital bed. So that is the status of implementation of the law. Now this, as ma'am has just pointed out, Ms. Nair, that these fast track courts is a solution. Because what does the judiciary say? It always says we don't have courts, we don't have staff. But there is a catch here, ma'am. The judges are the same. The pool of available judges is the same. Out of those very judicial officers, you will have to designate.
They'll be debuted in the fast track
yes,
courts as
there
well.
will be infrastructure.
That is definitely an additional part of the overall problem. But one point which is made by Aditi here, and I'd like to bring in Ms. Agarwal, on the judicial empathy as well. Now that the Supreme Court itself says that we have to come up with a concerted and a concerned approach and a solution, ensuring that there is a zero tolerance towards such crimes.
Absolutely right. I know, and I do appreciate and have empathy with the concern that Aditi has shown, that until we may have as many laws as possible and as many amendments, and we may continue to have panel discussions and feel happy that yes, an amendment has been passed or the bill has been passed, but there has to be empathy on the ground level. And the recent Supreme Court effort to have this PIL heard, this itself shows that yes, our judiciary is absolutely empathetic and sympathetic and aware of the fact that yes, justice not only has to be done, it should believe to have been done. It should show that justice has been done. So there's no point in having a verdict on paper after 1 year or so that look, this punishment has been passed, such and such person has been given 20 years or a death sentence. But what about the family of the victim? What about the grieving family? They want instant relief. They want instant remedy for the, they need some balm for their wounds. And this, if the judges are sensitive, which they are, and I must compliment the Honorable Supreme Court. I'm very thankful for that they have taken this up on a very, very quick basis that this PIL has to be heard. So our judges are already very sensitive about it. But yes, there's always scope for more workshops on this, that the judges could be made more sensitive to this fact that they need to show some special attention, some more fast track course, some special attention to such cases of POCSO which come up, and not treat them in a regular manner.
Okay. Ms. Nair, two aspects. One is, as we're talking about fast track courts, and the government has also said it in Parliament that, 1,023 fast track courts will soon come up. The money has been allocated, 18 states are on board as well. But coming back to the same original thing, which all three of you have mentioned, all this leads to one direction, that is creating more awareness. Now, you've been there, you've been at the helm of affairs in the Women and Child Development Ministry, the nodal ministry for all these acts out there. What more do you think can be done to ensure that the people are aware of the gravity of the situation as well as the severity of the law?
Shall I tell you one thing? The thing that impacted at least me the most in this area was the Amir Khan production of Satyamev Jayate. If anybody has seen that, it had 26 or 28 episodes in it, and each one investigated a family where a child had been molested or raped. And that, when it came to the forefront with an actor like him, you have to have an icon put up these things in front of you. Okay. He did it with so much effect and so much beautiful publicity, very sensitively handled for the whole of the country to see, and everybody understood what he was saying. But then it died, it didn't come back. It should be shown repeatedly. Things like that should be made by leaders like Amitabh Bachchan and all great people in our Bollywood who can do this, who people will go and see. What an impact these icons have.
Maybe what you're conveying is that taking it up as a public movement, just like on the lines of Swachh Bharat Mission or others which we've taken up, people need to be made aware.
And I'm sorry.
And a second point, I had a very small point. The police investigation, if you recall the Arushi Talwar case and you go back and see how the police investigated and how many times they had to investigate the same offense to get it right. I mean, a proper police awareness, police training, police forces have to be exposed to this. There has to be a special desk at the Thana looking at the number of offences. We can dedicate a Thana, a desk like we have the women's cell. We can have a children's cell and we can have the police aware that quickly they must register and quickly
maybe trained specifically for this as well.
investigation should be very quick before evidence is lost.
Okay.
And
Yes,
I will just add to what Ms. Nair said, that when we're making the public aware of what the law is, and they should be aware of the gravity and the seriousness of the offence. At the same time, the Satyamev Jayate movement also was there to make the children aware of their own rights. The children have to be aware about the good touch and the bad touch, as Amir Khan talked about. Are children even aware of the fact that they have been sexually assaulted? Very often the children are so innocent, they are so naive, they do not even realize that they have been assaulted, because they think that this is something which is probably just done. If a family member assaults them, they think that, okay, this is my chacha, this is my chachi, or this is my bua, or my father who has done this. So this is probably something that just happens in all houses. Or if a person of trust like a teacher or a policeman or an army officer or a doctor, very often we hear about cases about doctors who, on the pretext of medically examining the patient, they do things that they should not be doing. So does the child at that time realize that what has happened to him or to her, that he has been assaulted? So this has to be, the awareness is to be brought about even in children, that they should be aware about the dignity of their own body and learn to make a complaint about it at the very first instance, even if the person, even if the offender is your own parent, even if it is a person of trust like your parent. So that confidence has to come in children, that they must learn to speak out, not to just put it behind themselves and keep it something as it just happens in every house. So that confidence has to come in children, that they must learn to speak about, not only about their own parents and relatives, but also about other persons of trust like school teachers. Very often a large extent of cases that are there is about teachers who are exploiting the students. So that is a number of the cases which are there are very large, because the proximity of the child and the offender is very close. And so that confidence is built about. I'm certain our children will realize that something wrong has happened with them.
Okay, so the children also needs to be made aware and sensitive as well. Aditi, you've been following these stories. You must have met the victims. You would have grappled with the figures as well over the years and all that. How would you see from here onwards? We have a strong law, we have a stringent law, we have a judiciary which says that yes, there should be a zero tolerance policy, and the implementing agencies are also moving forward. Perhaps they will improve with time as well. But apart from this, what can be done?
Right. See, the first thing that needs to be done, Vishal, I'm sorry I misspelled your name earlier.
Okay,
so what I need to say is, when we cover these cases closely, the most disturbing trend that you actually analyze is that certain kind of cases get more media glare than the other kind of cases.
That always happens.
What is happening is politicization of rapes in India. So an Unnao will become a very important case because it has a certain communal angle to it. Similarly, the Kathua rape case will become extremely important. The world media will descend on India because there is a certain minority angle.
Maybe a rural and urban divide here as well, because the interiors don't get that publicity.
More than anything else, even in the Nirbhaya case, it did become very political because of the mass outrage that the society expressed at that time. We have to actually guard against this kind of politicization of rape.
Absolutely.
Every case of rape deserves media glare, deserves societal attention. Not just the Unnao case, not just the Kathua case, because a certain power politics is at play in those cases, but each and every case needs to be and deserves to be under the media glare all the time. Second thing that's most important is, I'm very worried about the rate of convictions under the POCSO Act. Only about 32% if you take the average of past 5 years, and the pendency is 90%. I hope the special courts, it's a very good step in the right direction. The government is now trying to say, okay, we are going to fill the gaps in infrastructure, and a lot of onus will lie on the police, a lot of onus will lie on the judges. As we know, Vishal, the POCSO Act says FIR under POCSO case must be registered under 30 days. It never happens. Hope the police will get conditioned to file quick FIRs, collect quick medical forensic evidence and take it to trial stage.
Okay, so the implementing agencies also need to pull up their socks out there. Concluding comments from you, Ms. Nair.
I just wanted to say that since I've been on this side of the administration, I would seek accountability. I think there have to be targets put up for this, their target dates, and everybody must know that this is the time period I'm allowed to investigate, this is the time period I'm allowed to register, and this is the time period within which the court must complete the hearings.
Okay.
no fancy adjournments.
So,
accountability.
Accountability is the key word out there.
Absolutely.
Mr. Agarwal?
I think that awareness, as I'm always talking about, that awareness of the law has to be made, for everybody, whether, as I just talked about, children being aware of their law, as well as the public at large. Until more workshops are not held for the common persons, as well as for the judges, as well as for the police, I think that we'll continue to have more laws, but nothing effective is going to come about. And I fully agree with Ms. Aditi that every case deserves media glare. Why only a Kathua or why only a Unnao? Each case is bad enough to deserve media glare.
Okay. So clearly out there, as our panelists are pointing out, that the laws are in place, they're being made more stringent, more severe as well, but awareness about both the gravity of the situation and the severity of the law needs to be increased, maybe at the level of a public movement out there, and that is something which is to be done by common people like you and me. And as one of the panelists pointed out, accountability of the implementing agencies as well. We'll come back again with a different topic, different set of guests. Till then, keep watching Rajya Television.